This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, cool. Well, I almost said good morning, but it's still morning. We're so happy to have everybody here, and we're also very excited to have Dr. Emily Mahappy here for her presentation. A little bit about her. She has a Bachelor of Applied Science in Ag Communication and Journalism from Texas Tech, a Master's of Science in Ag Communication and Journalism from Texas A&M, and a Doctor of Philosophy in Recreation, Parks, and Tourism Science from Texas A&M. She worked as a state 4-H specialist in the Texas AgriLife Extension Services, and then she worked for them for 5 years prior to moving to Nacogdoches. We're very happy when she did, because she was hired by the city of Nacogdoches as the Communications and Main Street Director, where she was there for 5.5 years, including a short little term as the interim city planner for 11 months. So you were busy. Very. She also teaches at SFA as adjunct faculty and a lecturer for the last 6 years. And in her spare time, she founded Emily Mahappy Photography, and in April of last year, she opened her own business, Small Town Socials, a boutique social media agency. She has a very lovely husband, John, and 2 very cute little daughters, Addie and Hunter. And as you can see, we were a little bit worried that
is solid.
So help me welcome Dr. Emily Mahappy.
Yeah, I'm trying not to like have a baby. We're close to the due date, so I appreciate you having me today. And I kind of wanted to jump in first and get to know you a little bit, because I know that some of you come from a wide array of industries and have kind of different thoughts about what you want to get out of today. And so, as you know, social media, online digital marketing is a huge topic, and it's kind of hard to narrow it down into an hour and a half. But thankfully, we do have an hour and a half, not just an hour, so we can spend some time to kind of unpack what you want to learn or what your challenges are. So I have all these slides that say words and lots of other words, and I have pictures and all kinds of stuff, but I'm also kind of wanting to jump around and make this applicable to what you're dealing with. So if we can, I'd like to kind of go around, hear from you what your business is, what you want to get out of today, kind of anything that you've thought about and what brought you here, so that we can kind of take the conversation from there. Okay? Let's go first.
My name's Amanda. I'm from our fund departments. I'm a leasing consultant there. I do a lot of marketing.
Okay. Social media? Okay. Okay.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm with Farmers State Bank. I'm the marketing director.
Okay.
I do a lot of social media, so
Okay.
I really just want to make sure I'm on the right track.
Cool. That's great.
I'm Janet Davis. I'm new in science and I do a little bit of social media.
Okay.
Mary Mahappy at the Pine Woods Apartment Association, and I have someone, one of our members is in that area and covers it, but I'd like to know what he's doing and how and why.
Okay.
So I'm learning as if to do it myself.
I'm Lynn Myers, and I'm associated with Courtney Home. I don't own the business, but I do try to help out with marketing. And my background was working for ad agencies and corporate marketing. And so social media is a whole new ball of wax.
Okay.
I'm Carly. I'm an intern at East Texas Community Health Services.
Okay.
With Caitlin, and I'm just here to give more insight on social media and stuff like that.
Do y'all share the responsibilities there?
No, I do work at East Texas Community Health Services.
Okay.
And I am kind of been filling the role as our marketing and social media, but I'm learning as I go.
I'm Lori with Meadow Ridge Archery and Gun, and I'm going to just claim I'm old and technology is fast, and I'm like, well, I know Facebook, I'm like, there's so many interconnectedness, and I'm in here because the opportunity to pull it all together present itself. And I appreciate it.
I'm Emily Jones. I work in Activation Series Talent. So I'm just here to hopefully have more of an online presence and so. Great.
I'm Megan. I work at Russian River Apartments with Three-Star Management, managing apartments and marketing online and social media presence. And we're just looking to learn how to better expand our current presence and learn ways to reach potential prospects.
I'm Janelle McDonald. I'm with Three Skies Management. So we have the California and Tallahassee and Russian River Apartments. Yeah. Our goal right now is to actually scrap all of our old social media and then rebuild it with more intentional teams and relevant media, specifically with Instagram because it got really monotonous in the past. So I'd like to just kind of build on that today and see how we might utilize other platforms effectively. Okay.
I'm Campbell Cox, and I do a regional mediation and arbitration business in East Texas. I'm old as well, and nothing about social media marketing, so I'm here just to get some bare bones lessons.
Okay. I'm Allison Nolan. I'm the social media manager at Hancock Advertising here in town. I've been doing this for 10 years now. Have several clients, most of my clients are out of town. So I'm just here just to get some fresh ideas.
Cool. Okay. So I kind of appreciate that because it's good to kind of know where people are coming from. All the things you're saying are not uncommon from the things that I hear from students at SFA or from potential clients or clients that I work with at agency. And so I like to use this term, finding your tribe. I use it a lot. If you've ever heard me speak before, you've probably heard this because I think we all can kind of understand, like, you have your people, right? You have, these are my people, my little creative directors, Patty and Hunter, always overseeing what's happening. But that's my tribe. And Joe Michael doesn't like to take pictures, so he's really excited when we go take pictures, but he wants to have to go, which is funny because I'm a photographer or whatever. That's fine. So that's my tribe, and you all kind of can relate. You have your group of friends, you have people that you associate with at church or at work or at school or wherever you go, and those are the people that you connect with. And so I try to kind of take that concept and extrapolate that into social media because it's overwhelming, right? Everybody can relate to, there's always a new platform, there's always a new change. Last week I looked at it, and my business suite was over here, and now they put it over here, and they move things around, and it's really frustrating. And that's kind of like, I always say, that's playing the game. But if you know who your tribe is, and you can figure out how to connect with those people, just like you do with your friends and your family, then it kind of takes all the noise away, and it makes it a little bit easier to know what to say, when to say it, how to say it, things like that. So, anybody ever feel like this? Those people, right? We're the marketing people, those of you who maybe work and you're in a place where you're the marketing person, you're like, well, I mean, you're young, so you must know because you're the marketing person. You wear all the bright colors, so I mean, you're the crazy one, so you must have all the fancy ideas. And so I always kind of think that that's funny because sometimes those two people aren't the same person, right? And so a lot of times when I work with clients or I'm talking to business owners, they say, I don't know what to say. I get stuck. I know I need to do it, but I don't feel like I have that flair or that touch. And so I'm going to try to kind of like help you get, not that you have to wear a pink boa, but get you a little closer if you want to. I'm good with that too. But show of hands real quick. Anybody a department of one, right? It's just you. Yeah. Anybody have multiple people in charge of marketing and you're kind of trying to keep everybody on the same page? Yep, that happens a lot. Do you feel like those people have adequate training to employ what you need? Okay. So what do you think you do well? Just kind of like spout out some answers.
I think we do well at sticking to one theme as opposed to too many people on one.
Yeah.
So we always try to dwindle it down to like, what is our goal for this post or this event? And let's make sure we're not like spread too thin. So our message is
Good. That's a big deal. No problem. Anybody feel like they just share random stuff? Because you're like, I don't know what to say. So we just share random things. Okay, so hopefully we're going to fix that today. We kind of talked about what you want to improve upon. Does anybody feel like they need to be on TikTok, but they're not? No. That's good. Maybe not. Okay. Does anybody feel like I've heard of a hashtag, but I don't really know what to do with it? That's a weird word. Yeah. What are you saying? I thought that was a pound sign, right? Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of what we're going to work through a little bit. These are all totally normal things. So I want to start at the beginning of messaging. This has nothing to do with digital marketing. This has nothing to do with anything except that whole finding your tribe concept. So figuring out, I always tell my students, the cardinal rule of communication is knowing your audience. Your business likely has a very specific audience that you want to reach, and that's who your tribe is. And you may have a couple of groups of people that you want to reach, and those people might be in your tribe. So kind of take a minute and just jot down, if you know off the top of your head, y'all are all very familiar with the businesses you're here representing, so it should be pretty easy for you. You know your business well to just figure out what are their genders, what are their ages, where do they live, who are you trying to reach? So I'll give you a second. This can be different for every single person. So I just want to start there and get y'all to jot those ideas down. Anybody feel like they have to be everything to everybody? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Very common. When I worked at the city, guess what? We don't get to say, oh, we only like people who own businesses. Oh, we only like people who live on North Street. Oh, we only like people who, we only want to talk to retirees. So we had to do what we call segmentation, separate out our different audiences to figure out how to reach people. If you are trying to be everything to everybody, then you never get to connect, right? Have y'all ever had that friend that you're like, I like that person, they're nice, but they are boring and they don't ever say anything interesting because you're not connecting with them, right? They're very surface. And so if you're saying, come to the chamber, we're super cool people, that's being everything to everybody. You're saying something really nice, your message is really cool, but who are you really talking to? So my goal here is to help us connect. Let's say your audience is college, one of your people are college students. We have apartments, right? So I'm assuming college students designing this. Okay. So the things you say to a college student may be different than something that you say to a young professional. And so my goal here is to connect these messages with your audience and kind of have some cohesion. So as we talk through this, then we can say, okay, well, I have, anybody just have one target audience that is very specific? What's yours?
Litigation attorneys in Texas,
Okay.
and their paralegals that work with, so it's really one target audience.
So we don't care about gender, we don't care about age. It's really just your line of work. So that makes your life really easy because you get to say, where are those people? Are they on TikTok? Probably not. Are they on Instagram? Probably not. So you can go, okay, I'm gonna just get rid of all that noise and I'm gonna be really specific and talk to just one group of people. Those of you who have multiple people, you'll have college students, who else y'all have?
Young professionals, retirees, and families, growing families.
Okay, so the things that those different people need in an apartment, there might be some overlap, like the service is still the same, the product is the same. We're renting you an apartment, great. We have our nuts and bolts, but the way we connect with you may be a little bit different. So this looks different for every single person, and that's okay. But once we figure out who those people are, now we can say, well, where are the retirees? On TikTok? Definitely not, right? Where are the college students? On TikTok? Absolutely. So we can start to figure out, well, I know what I want to say to college students, and I only need to say it in one place. I know what I want to say to retirees, and I only need to say it in the places that I know where they are. And so that can help you get really focused. So the other part of this is what I like to call social proof. Anybody ever heard of social proof? So maybe I just made it up. I don't know where it came up. Who knows? But I'm not much pregnant. I'll make it happen. So it's fine. Make it whatever I want. So social proof is the idea that being authentic helps you with those connections. So this is little Hannah May. She was a flower girl in a wedding. As you can see, she thought she was like hot stuff that day. Everybody was like doting over her. Oh, she's so cute. Look at her go. And she was just eating it up, and her head was living, right? And so that was annoying and fine. So they sent me this picture of her, and it's posed and it's pretty. And the photographer said, "Everybody look at this flower girl." And she smiled and like, "That's cute. We're cool with that." But then I get a text, and it's, "Your child is side-eyeing anyone who told her to put flowers." Because we had said, like, "You're in charge of the flowers." And so her whole thing when she got them was like, "Come on, kid, right?" And so that's real life, right? So we can all relate. Maybe you have kids, maybe you have grandchildren, maybe you've ever been around a child who can relate to the fact that, like, that's picture perfect, that's real life. And so which one do we feel has more social proof? The one on the right, the one that says, "Yeah, I didn't work out how I was supposed to, but that endears me to her, and that's cute, and it's funny, and we all kind of have a little chuckle." So you could probably go, "Okay, well, that's a stupid story, Amy, whatever, what's your point?" But the thought is, what do you do at your offices and at your business that can endear you to people and make people go, "Oh yeah, I see that person every day when I walk in to the apartment complex," or "I talk to that person on the phone," or "This is who that employee is." And you can start to go, okay, what are the things that make us who we are? Because that's really what starts to set you apart with your tribe, because they feel that connection to you. So how do we do that? Like I said, this looks different for every business. This is one of my clients. She's in West Texas, Santa Ana. Anybody ever heard of that? Metropolis. It's huge. I've never heard of it. No, I'm kidding. It's a tiny little town, really cute. She has this boutique. She curates clients from Abilene, San Angelo. They drive them all over because she's really good at relationships. That's her thing. She goes to market, and she knows where her customers are, and she has people in mind, and she buys with them. And she's been very successful to the point that she's opening a second location in the DFW. And so that's exciting. But what does she do that helps with that social proof? What does that look like for a business? So she has her hub, which is her website. Everybody has a website? Okay, so that's kind of this thing that we all know we have to have. A lot of times my clients will go, "Man, you've been running my social media and it looks really awesome, and now my website is like terrible in comparison. So we need to dress up my website." So I say all of this because we talk a lot about social media, but you kind of have to have all the pieces fit together, and that's okay, because different people end up with you in a digital space from different places. So they may find you online first and then end up on your social media, or vice versa. So she has her hub where she sells everything. All her products go online, so she can have, basically she runs two businesses, her face-to-face brick and mortar and her online business. And they kind of, at different times of the year, support one another. But then she goes, okay, well, we need to get new clothes out. We need to tell people when we have new inventory. I don't know if y'all can see this. So this is like clothes on the ground, right? Not super exciting. She doesn't like it. If she gets in a pinch, she takes a picture and sends it to get it out into the public space. But really what she likes to do is social proof. Here is me, who's the face of the store. When you come to the store, you want to shop with me. Her name is Kyra. She does an amazing job at making these relationships with her customers. So her face is on the homepage. Her face is on these posts. It shows how the clothes fit. Her clothes, she says, and it happens time and time again, they sell better when people can see them on another person. because she's selling online. All the ladies in the room can understand that. And then over here is a video of her yesterday at her new space. Very informal. I think her hair's in a ponytail. We're not super dressed up. We're not trying to have some big fancy video production. It's just, here I am in the new store. Here we're planning on open July 1st. We're putting wallpaper up. Here's a shout out to the guys painting. Hey guys painting, wave to the camera. Very authentic and real. So you feel like, oh, I may have never met this girl, but her face is everywhere, so she must be kind of a big part of the store. And so then when you go into the store, you already kind of feel like you know it. And hopefully that converts to sales. So the thought here is figuring out with the people that you wrote on your paper, those groups of people, how do we connect with them? How do we provide that social? That may be the same thing. You may go, well, I mean, college students need this information just as much as the other people. There may be a ton of overlap, and that's okay. It's just important to kind of think about those distinctions in case you are trying to kind of like throw everything at the wall to see what sticks. Any questions so far? Well, we already did that. I jumped ahead. Okay, cool. Check. On with this slide. So the next thought here is doing exactly what you were talking about doing, which is being really methodical in what we're going to say. Because that's half the battle, knowing what to say and when to say. And so, show of hands, who feels like they sit down to post because they know they need to post something, and they go, what am I going to say today? Yeah.
It's like the same stuff.
Yeah, and then you go, I can't be creative because I need to go do the next thing that I'm supposed to be doing to run my business. And I'm just kind of like firing something off. So the thought is, if we can take a little time today to work through some of this, then we can go, okay, let's schedule it. A lot of my clients, they schedule 30 days out. And if things change, guess what? It's really easy to drag and drop or delete things or move things around. But it's really hard to sit down on a busy day when something happens that morning and go, oh, and I gotta find a picture. Let me scroll and try to find a picture. Oh, I gotta make a graphic. Let me go make a graphic. And it takes way more time when you kind of do it in bulk. Because once you kind of get that flow down and you kind of figure out what you want to say, you can go a lot faster. So it becomes less overwhelming. Because that's the number one complaint I get from clients is, I'm overwhelmed, I don't have time to do this. I'm trying to run a business. And if you have a customer standing at the front desk and your phone in your hand, what are you going to deal with first? The customer standing at the front desk. So what goes on the back burner? Your social media. So the thought is, if you have it all planned, guess what? We're good to go. And then maybe it makes sense to plan a week in advance. Like the boutique, she has new inventory every week, so we can't get too far in advance and we're posting all the stuff. But we try to at least be a little bit more proactive instead of reactive. So every business is a little different. So these are some of my clients. I have St. Hedwig, feed, and supply. What do we think they sell? Super creative name. They sell feed and supplies. So they actually are in a little town, St. Hedwig, outside of San Antonio, and it's a huge operation. People come from all over to buy feed and supplies. Guess what? They're super successful. Nothing about these posts are sexy, not exciting, not fun, unless you really want to read about deer porn, right? That's okay, because that's their product, and that their audience really wants to read about deer porn that day. So we're good. So if you can see up there, it's literally pictures of stuff on a shelf. That's authentic to who they are. That's what their brand is. That is connecting with their customers, because their customers just need to know what's in stock, what's not in stock, what products you have, what products don't you have, right? Okay, so then we have Well Body Solutions. Anybody been there? You have a chamber member here in town, Moore Street? It's an IV bar. So you go in and if you like feel sick, they'll give you a injection. If you have a hangover, if you think you might have a hangover, if you're getting over a cold, if you like, there's all kinds of different blends. If you're like training for a race or something, they can give you like stuff for performance enhancement. It's all, with a nurse, and they sit you down and you go through a process, and then you get an IV treatment. So instead of going to the ER, if you're dehydrated and have a stomach bug, you go over there. They also do spray tans, Botox, filler, all kinds of stuff. They stick in your face, needles, crazy. What else do they do?
Weight loss.
Weight loss. They have like protein plan and weight loss injection, things like that. So basically anything that you would need to help you be a better person, look better, feel better, they probably have. Okay. So their audience is a little different than the one at St. Hedwig's Feed and Supply, right? Yeah. So we get to do really fun stuff with Well Body Solutions. I like to write their captions because I get to be kind of cheeky and it's fun. But they don't take themselves too seriously. Old Town Generators here in town, a client of mine, what do? They install in-home generators. Well, you need those things when there's a storm, when there's a problem. So we don't get to be cheeky and fun and like make fun of ourselves a whole lot because the subject matter is different. That's okay. So I think sometimes businesses go, well, I mean, they're really funny on social media, so I need to be funny on social media. Well, maybe not. It just has to be real to who you are and what your story is as a business. Stages Vintage, you might heard of that here in town? So they're like incognito by design, so they're probably mad at me that I'm talking about them. Super cool business. They source grapes and make wine right here in Nacogdoches for wineries all over the state. And they have clients that come in and they say, well, I want this type of wine for my tasting room. They have a really wonderful experienced winemaker and they make the wine. And so really state-of-the-art facility, they're growing, they are what we would think of like business to business. So instead of saying, hey, come buy wine from us, they are talking just to people who own wineries and tasting rooms. So kind of similar to what you're talking about. I'm talking to other people in my profession, business to business versus I need the public to come and visit the shooting range. So there's a different kind of vibe there. So the way that we talk about things and the messages that we use, completely different. And then Love Valley Properties, anybody heard of them? Okay, so they have a totally different philosophy. All of these folks, they have a posting schedule. They get, they buy a package, right? So they get 7 posts a week, 4 posts a week, whatever makes sense for them. Your frequency and how often you post, that's a question I get a lot, looks different depending on who you are. So the people who sell products, local honey, Botox, hay, spray tans, you need to be constantly reminded of these things. So they need a post a day, which sounds like a lot. But again, if you're scheduling it and you just need to sit down and write 30 posts about 30 different products, it can go really fast. Stages Vintage, they don't have wineries knocking on the door every morning. They don't have customers walking in every day. It's more of a philosophy of we want to be industry leaders, we want to be seen as experts. We want people to think of us when they need this service. And so they get 4 posts a week because you can only talk about grape harvest so many times, right? Before it gets a little bit redundant. Not in a bad way, but just they are very cognizant of not overpowering their audience and saying too much just to fill the space with noise. They want, when they speak, for people to listen. So they kind of pull back 4 posts a week. Totally fine. The generator business, 5 posts a week because there's a happy medium in there, right? We don't need to just churn out posts every single day about the same thing over and over and over. But we need to have enough that we're on the top of your mind and you go, okay, enough is enough. The power went out again. I need a generator. Who do I need to call? We want you to remember to call them first. So there's kind of a balance in there. That just depends on what you think is right for you. And you might have to play with that a little bit to figure that out. It also depends on the season, right? So I have some boutiques that Christmas, like October to December, they want to post a week. But in the middle of the summer when people are hot and aren't shopping and they're on vacation and stuff like that, they pull back to 3 posts a week. And so there's kind of an ebb and a flow. The key is to just stick to a schedule of some kind so that people can kind of learn to trust you and rely upon you. If I called you on the phone and you never answered, what would I start to think as a customer?
Do they exist?
Yeah, are they there? Have you ever been to a person's page and you're like, heard about a new business and they haven't updated since 2021? And you're like, are they even in business? What do you do next? You kind of try to figure out if they're in business or not, right? So sometimes my clients go, wow, they're saying the same thing over and over. And I'm like, yeah, because you have new people hopefully coming to your page every single day. So you may say the same thing over and over, and that's okay. Look at those crazy ladies. So the other thing is, along those same lines, if I called you on the phone and you answered and we're having a conversation, and I ask you a question and you hang up on me, what do I think about you? Say what? Yeah, you're a big jerk face, right? I'll talk to you. Much less give you my money and do business with you. So people always ask about comments and they say, do I respond to comments? Do I not respond to comments? I'm a big believer in my quick responses because a lot of people, this is the only way they want to communicate. So, and that's unfortunate because I like to talk to people. That's in my nature. But a lot of people are like, no, I'm going to send them a message on Facebook. I don't actually want to talk to a real human. And so they feel like if you don't answer their message on Facebook, that you're kind of snubbing them. And it to me is the equivalent of, oh, you asked me a question, gotta go, bye. And so it's kind of a different philosophy, but that's unfortunately that game that we have to play. So looking at all these different businesses, oh, blah, blah, blah. So they have a little bit of a different philosophy, especially in the booming real estate market because they're so busy. So you will see a little bit different. If you go to their page, you just heard me say 7 posts a week, 5 posts a week, 4 posts a week, stick to a schedule. Except if you're log they get to do whatever they want. Because they're super busy and their philosophy is a little different and it works for them, which is we don't want to just post stuff just to post it. If we're quiet, that means we're busy selling houses, showing houses, writing contracts, doing all the things. If we sell a house or get a listing, send it right then. And so it's a little bit of a different vibe just because of what the thing is and where they are in the market right now. That may change if we get to a place where things are a little slower. They may decide to change that. But if y'all seen, and I'm not saying this is bad, this is just not their philosophy. Real estate posts that are like 10 tips for moving. How to pack your closet. Anybody ever read those? You do? You do? Okay. So some people go, okay, I don't want to see that. That's not their jam. They don't feel like that's authentic to who they are. Who they are is we're busy, we're hustling, and we're selling houses. So they've figured out what that means for them, and they don't want to fill it with a bunch of noise. Others go, no, I want to add value. That's what it is. I want to add value. You may not need a home today. You may need a home in 3 years, but hopefully you've read my post or gotten a cool tip or followed me or figured out how to connect with me in some other way. So when that time comes, you think of me. So there's just kind of 2 different things happening here. Neither one are better than the other. It just matters what works for your business. Questions there?
When you say posts, are you talking about one platform or multiple places? You know, do you post on Facebook, or you post on Instagram, you post, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't even know all the social media outlets.
Right.
But you know,
Yeah.
post.
It
I
depends.
know it deals with your audience, but you know, specifically TikTok, because I've never seen TikTok, but I've heard of that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
It can depend. So I have a client that sells art, and all of her posts are actually on Pinterest because people are looking for that type of sculptures and then kind of high-end and that kind of thing. She doesn't get a lot of traction on Instagram or Facebook. She does a little, so she does like 2 posts a week on those channels just to keep it kind of cohesive. But really, we put a lot more effort into those platforms because she's figured out that's what she's doing. So it just kind of depends. A lot of people, for what they're doing, and it may be the case for you, I will say probably 95% of my clients on Facebook and Instagram, and they're sending the same content because there is some overlap in terms of ages. Yes, Instagram's a little bit of a younger crowd, but it's starting to get bigger. America Beverage Company, you know them on North Street, they have a TikTok page we run for them because they were trying to get college students. And so that content was very different. So that post, I see that as a completely different set of information than what goes on Instagram. So it's a lot of like lawyer answers. We say it just depends. It just depends because you kind of have to figure out what your message is first, and then you can fill in the blanks.
Amy,
Yes.
do you recommend posting the same things on?
We do. We may do a different time.
Yeah.
But typically the message is the same because over the years, I used to separate it, but then I started looking at, that analytics page you see and you're like, wow, numbers, okay. So I look at that and I go, these people are kind of the same for most of my clients. Red House Winery here in town, they are one of the ones that are different. So every now and then I'll put something a little younger or trendier on Instagram because I'm seeing a trend on that particular platform that won't go to Facebook because it won't make sense. Because she kind of has like the wine club ladies that are retired and they go up and sip on wine on the weeknights. And then she has like a younger crowd that's on Instagram and it is kind of distinct. I don't know if y'all remember. Well, like that's a good example. Look here, this lapper around the world. So that says Well Body Solutions and it says fine lines and wrinkles and they're just kind of back it out of there. So did I do that for every client? No, because that wouldn't really be on brand for everybody. But does it make sense when you're scrolling on Instagram and that's the meme you see over and over and over? Sure. So there kind of depends. Do y'all remember, this is going to be, I'm going to really show my dorky side, the drama with like the new Taylor Swift song that came out? Anybody with me? So she put out this like new song and everybody was like, oh, she's talking about an ex-boyfriend. And it was like about a scarf and everybody in the song was talking about a scarf. Well, the Instagram crew knew this trend because everybody was saying, oh, it's this red scarf that she's talking about. That was like some celebrity boyfriend that she had and she like gave away the secrets in the new song. And so everybody was talking about the red scarf. So we did a post just on Instagram because I knew the Facebook crew would go, what is this red scarf? What are you talking about? So you kind of have to know who you're talking to so that you don't miss that connection. But if you can find those moments, then it becomes really good because you go, oh, think about when you make a friend and you find a friend and you go, oh, you watch the same TV show I do, that's so cool. If when you can find those moments, then you kind of converted somebody into a customer versus a follower. And so you kind of have to watch for those opportunities. They're few and far between, but it's fun to like engage where people are slapping at people, so it's all good.
Amy, can I ask you, in that picture, what crossed my mind was, is there any issue with copyright and that kind of thing? I mean, I know that's been on every TV and every radio show or TV show and forever, but
You just have to attribute it. Say, but if you go in and you change it to the point where it becomes like part of the public domain, I think that there's,
okay.
I would never go grab like an image. I'm trying to think because these are all pictures I've taken. Yeah, like an image like a Disney. Don't get you in about 5 minutes. But if there's like a meme going around,
Okay.
I don't worry so much. The platforms will warn you. I've never gotten one, but I have heard of it happening.
Okay.
Where they'll go, oh, there's cover. But you'll see where people will put like, I don't have the rights to this music. Or the photo credit comes from wherever. You can also do a Google search for like the Creative Commons pictures. You can filter pictures that you're allowed to use. I don't do a lot of that because I create a lot of the graphics myself so that I don't have to mess with it. These are kind of like one-offs. But like this, it's Glow Time. We just created that in Canva and made it.
Canva, your main source for free.
It really is, because you remember the days of Photoshop, and you had to teach somebody that works for you how to use Photoshop, or you had to learn to use Photoshop or whatever. So Canva's great. I try to, Canva's been great. It was like wonderful at first. And then it got where like now everybody's using Canva, and so now everybody's stuff looks the same. So I try to like really spice it up and like do my own kind of thing, but it's still easier to me, especially if I have like people working on these specific accounts, that they can get in there and kind of make their own, and I may go fix it or like tweak it. But I try not to just use only their templates, because sure enough, somebody else will be using those templates too. So I try to make them my own a little bit, just so I can stand out. So brand voice, as we've been talking, has anybody started to think about kind of how they want to come across? What has crossed your mind? Has anybody thought they maybe need to change it?
We actually, I've been with the bank a little over a year. Before that, they didn't really have an image campaign. It was always just Farmer State Bank in Home Creek. So we developed a very sort of, since a lot of our business is agricultural, we have a very wholesome American farm image that we're very consistent with, even on brands like Plaid Bank. I mean, it's, you have to think about it, it can be a little difficult, but we changed all of that and we've had a response.
Good. I think that's important. Anybody else?
I feel like I'm getting in my own way because I'm struggling between, do I focus on my current residents, or do I focus on my prospects, or can I focus on both of them at the same time? Like have posts that are to both but not lose the audience of either. And that in itself seems overwhelming. So part of me is like, well, what if my Facebook is just for my residents, like targeted, and my Instagram is just for my prospects, and then they cross over, and then I feel like it's being too complicated, so I like back off completely.
Yeah, I think you might be overcomplicating it, because as a prospective resident, I want to know
How do you treat your
So I think there's some overlap. Yeah, I think that's good. Anybody feel like they've been trying to be something that they're not? Okay.
I'm trying to figure out what's a good position for us to be in. So we do real estate coaching.
Right.
So it's like we have to deal with hundred realtors, new home buyers, real estate. And so it's difficult because we kind of target a lot of those people, but so I kind of feel like we need to be professional.
Yes.
But at the same time, sometimes you do want to get some of the younger people who are buying a home or something like that.
Sure.
And so you want to put something on there that they can relate to. But I always feel like I can't be too funny or too something because I don't want people to take offense or
to think you're not serious about what you're doing.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult.
Yeah.
It's hard to find that.
We can't make a lot of shooting range jokes, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we can. I don't know. I would probably laugh, but I get what you're saying. So some of it's trial and error. Last summer, I was actually looking at it the other day. We did like all of these like light puns for the generator company, and he was like, "The dad jokes have got to go. I mean, like it's too much, and I just want us to be seen as like."
Oh, I was totally following that.
I thought they were hilarious. Well, and you get tired of talking about a generator, right? Like, let's just be honest. And so it was funny though, because his point is accurate, and it's similar to what you're saying, is, hey, I want people to know that we're serious about keeping them safe when there's a storm or something happens. And so I appreciate you trying to mix it up, but like that's not really who he kind of transitioned into. We have a strong message, we're very straight and to the point, and it works for him. I do think that like making yourself more human is important. So we ran into this a lot at the city, where I always ask the question, like, who loves the IRS? Nobody? Okay, fine. Boring. Who loves little Johnny, who has 3 kids at home, and he's an auditor for the IRS, and he's, going to work every day, and he's paying for soccer, and he's paying for daycare? Who likes Johnny? And everybody goes, oh, okay, like I like Johnny, except my college kids, they're always like, no, we don't like the other, you're not gonna sell us Johnny. So the thought here is, hey, can we have some fun, maybe with staff, who are we, what do we like to do, get to know us, things like that, that can be a little funnier. On my website, I have like a graphic designer, a copywriter, account managers, and it says most likely to. So it's all about what they do, and I want you to like hire me, and I want you to see my team. So I want you to like buy into the concept, but I also want you to know that like we're just writing a Facebook post, y'all. We're not taking this too seriously. So most likely to, and the copywriters is to move my comma around 10 times or something. It's like something funny that endears you to her, but also shows that like she's serious about what she does. So to find those like little things can help you, I think, strike the right. So let's kind of think through, I pulled up all these well-body solution ones just to give you the example. So this talks about, oh, there's a lot of words on the slide. How do we speak? So if y'all all walked in today and you were like a bunch of bankers, no offense.
Oh, I'm not a banker.
I know. But, and doctors who work in the ER and have very, very serious jobs, you know, are all in suits and ties. I probably wouldn't have said saying hi with speed and supplies not sexy. I probably wouldn't have like made that joke, right? So trying to figure out who your audience is and that tone that you can take with them is different. So why I asked you to tell me who you were and what your challenges were was a twofold purpose so that I can kind of figure out who I'm talking to. Sorry, I'm hot. Did y'all notice? Fine. That's like a tiny 8-pound furnace in my stomach, but whatever. But this is a good example of that ebb and flow. So she's got this silly name. She's got It's Glow Time. We sell spray tans. Get it? I love it. I love it. We have just the core services, right? So we have the chairs where you get your IV. They have some cool jewelry that they've had. They have a picture of the IV bag, some events. Like this is just the core, who we are, nuts and bolts. And then we have a review. So this review goes back to that social proof. So I don't want you to tell me how great you are. I want somebody that's done it and been there to tell me how great you are, right? So that's their kind of their mix. That's the choices that they've made that I've made for them. They wouldn't know. But I know the owner, I know the vibe, I've gotten to know the business, I know the goals, and I can kind of figure out real quick, like, hey, how do we need to speak about this business? What makes sense? Ladies who put Botox and filler in their face kind of want to have a laugh about it. So in their t-shirts say stuff like, less filter, more filler. Right? So they emulate that in other places in their business. So we emulate that when they're speaking in public because some people are going to see all these things before they ever set foot in the door. So thinking about what this means for you is important. I really don't like, I think that we overcomplicate digital marketing and it becomes overwhelming. I really just want to tell people, like, pick a few platforms and just do them really well. Pick one platform and do it. And take this information and draw your map out. Go, okay, target audience, college students. What are the things we're going to tell them? How are we going to say it? Are we going to be funny? We're going to be friendly? We're going to be serious? We're going to be a mix of both? And then where are those people? And then you kind of have a little roadmap. And then you can sit down and write your post. And it becomes a little bit more of a formula instead of trying to guess at everything. So I call these buckets. So if you think about theme, somebody used the word theme earlier. I like the word bucket. I'm an ad girl. I like buckets. Let's put stuff in buckets, right? So if I have my spray tan bucket, my Botox filler bucket, my weight loss bucket, and my events. We had like a pop-up shop last night, so they went out to another business and did services at that business and like had a collaboration. So the message was, come to our event, right? So that was one of their buckets. So then you go, okay, I have 3 buckets, 5 buckets, 10 buckets, whatever the thing is, then you can go, hey, what am I gonna write about today? Something from one of my buckets. It becomes real simple versus like, this happened to me a lot at the city. I know it happens to y'all. Hey, we're doing this thing. Can you share this on Facebook? No, doesn't fit in one of my buckets. Right? Like it's just, that's not on brand for me. It's not part of what we're trying to say. If you had that friend that like talks about 25 different things and you never know what they're saying, and they always say crazy stuff and you're like, I don't even know what that person's talking about, that you don't want to do that on social media. You want to be somebody who you can trust and who can be depended upon. So if you're talking about the same themes, you may say something a little different about those things, but as long as they fit inside your buckets, you have some direction. So take a few minutes, write down maybe what your communication channels might be. So I say communication channels because you may have heard me talk and go, none of my people are on social media. I don't know. I don't think this is for me. I may want to do email. I may want to have a really great website. I may want to do TikTok. I may want to do Facebook. I may want to stick to what we have. So write down what those things are, and then write down maybe what some of your buckets are. So we talked about voice. So well-body solutions, they're funny, they're relatable, they're informative, their buckets, their products, their services, and their events, and their channels, our Instagram, Facebook. They have email marketing and they do paid ads. So we can talk about paid ads in a minute, but those are their channels. So I kind of wanted to give you all a second to think about what those things are for you. It's just me.
It's you.
Yeah.
Would you say a sweet spot for a number of buckets is like 4?
Sure.
Is there too many?
I think you can group them together, right? So products, events, and services are pretty broad. You have current and prospective tenants, but then you have like, I'm envisioning like a tree of who those people are.
Yeah.
Use the video of them and you just stand.
It is.
I'm never gonna watch that one. It's just- Anybody use email marketing?
Yes.
You have a good email list? That's like money. That's like the crown jewel. Get a good email list going. Anybody ever pay for ads? Yeah? Is that working well for you?
It's
Yeah.
it's still an experiment.
Yeah. You're always changing it.
Oh, yeah.
Well Body Solutions, their paid ads work when they have like a flash sale on something. So they'll run people love to feel like they're gonna miss out on something. And so what works for them is not a generic ad of come see us, we're wonderful, we'll put Botox in your face. It's more, we have 3 Ironman specials. If you're running, if you're training for a race, get it by June 26th, it's a discount. And it makes people go, oh, I want to get one of those 3. I'm training for a race. And they can sell them real quick. So it's really targeted. That's what has worked welcome them. We did one a couple, they're easy because you can measure it really easily. Like, hey, we have a new client special and you get $50 off your first treatment or something. And so people come in and they go, I'm a new client, I want my $50 off, so they can track it. So they like that. And we can go, oh, we spent $100 on an ad and we had 10 new clients, we made our money back on our ad, great. Others have a guy who installs like insulation in people's attics. He runs like $25 a week every week just for that immediacy of just being able to reach a few more people. It's not a huge investment, but it's a more generic ad of like, this is what we do and this is who we are, and it keeps it running consistently. And so it's harder to track your ROI because not everybody's coming in and buying insulation out. It's a different deal, but his goal is different, so what he uses it for. Anybody stuck? Don't know what to do.
I mean, if I'm honest, I
Okay.
feel like I've been doing the same thing for 2 years on the same, channels, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, there's only so much you can say. The products we offer, title insurance.
Right.
I mean, and we do help with services and things like that, but I mean, you can only say so much. Nobody really.
And you only need it when you need it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
not like it's a product or something that people, oh, hey, we can do a sale, or hey, we can,
Yeah.
you know.
So you don't get off easy, but you don't have to, there's a little less pressure.
Yeah.
Because you get to tell your story like when you want to. So pictures of people closing.
Yeah, we do that.
I'll do those.
We do that.
You'll have the sign, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the signs are cute. I think that makes you relatable because your story is those people.
Yeah.
And those people go and they share it. And then Bob Ollie tags y'all and stuff. So there's like this, it shows this message of we're collaborating, we're with the community. There's probably other stuff y'all do in town, like sponsorships and stuff like that, like brag on yourself. Like, I think that's one of your buckets. It's like, we're a member of this community. You can trust us with this big stressful thing.
Right. Sometimes I feel, and maybe I shouldn't be doing this, but, we're a local, owned business. And sometimes, like, obviously with events going on downtown, since we're located downtown, sometimes I'll share stuff that's downtown that's going on.
But you're a member of downtown.
Yes, and so I try to do that, but I don't know if that's really pertinent to us. But I mean, at least for somebody seeing it,
I think it is because that's part of your story, where you're looking.
Right.
And people connect, remember we're trying to connect, so we connect with locally owned downtown. I go to Fredonia and I see a building, like there's a connection there, so I think you're on the track. Okay, anybody else? Feel stuck? Everybody feel empowered and excited?
Well, you were going to talk about paid advertising.
Yeah, so that was kind of what I was saying, like, it depends on your goals, right? So back to your example. We're not gonna do a paid ad that's like, come in today, right? That's not how people end up at your building, right? You could do an ad. Hey, come do CHL licensing. Okay, so you could do a paid ad towards a specific person that you wrote down on your audience list. These are the dates of the event, this is how much it costs, this is what it is. Serve that ad up and hopefully it converts to a sale, right? You could do an ad on a particular product, or you could do kind of what I was saying with the attic insulation folks of like just exposure. So what ads do are, I promote a lot of what we call organic reach, this authentic social proof, this idea that like build it and they will come. But some people, they want to kind of boost that a little bit. And so they have a little bit of a budget and they use that to target for specific things. And then others have a philosophy of like, I just want people to know that I'm here. So they do more of a generic ad. The goals of those ads are different. And a lot of people will ask me like, well, how do I know if it's working? Well, if you're not saying use code new client when you come in and you're not asking people how they found you. So a lot of people will, they're selling generators, they're putting attic in people or insulation in people's attics, but they're not saying at every job, how did you hear about us? Maybe they are, I don't know. But there's not always a way to track, but it's that brand recognition that starts to get you a little bit of traction. So you start to think, okay, when people need what I have, I want them to think of me. That's why we want this consistency and to be able to connect with people. So ads are not good for everybody, but ads are good for some people depending on their goals. That make sense?
Or knowing when to do it, right? So like for the generator, it would be like early summer, early winter, possibly, like when we might have power outages.
Sure.
You know, so like, would that make sense for as far as like paid ads go?
Yeah, and he has a mixture of both. So he has run some that are just, here's who we are, we're a locally owned, veteran-owned business, rah, 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 go us, feel good. Not a lot of money, it's just a little bit. What it does is it helps bypass that algorithm, that word that we love so much. And nobody really knows what it is. I have to think about how to spell it every time I go to write it. So basically, we used to have a social media feed that if you posted at 9 and you posted at 10, I saw your post at 9 and I saw your post at 10, and it was super cool. And everybody thought, oh, I can keep up with all my friends this way. That was like how Facebook started. And then businesses decided, oh, I can make money off of this. So Facebook turned into a platform that is not about connections and is certainly not for small businesses. I tell my clients this all the time. Facebook's not trying to help you. So just get that out of your mind. If they're not. And it's about pay to play. So they have made it where if you want to reach 1,000 people a day, you can. Go pay us. And so it's become a commercialized game. So again, playing that game is sometimes helpful. Sometimes I go, you know what, we're not going to play the game. We're going to be authentic to who we are. We're going to tell our story. We're going to be consistent, and we will get there eventually. And it does work. It just takes a little longer.
What about Google Ads?
Google Ads, same kind of thing. They can work. I'm running some right now for the insulation folks because they were kind of slow. I bet they're not right now because everybody's so hot. But for a while there, it was a little slow, and you can say like, you can target it per region, and you can say this is how much I'm going to spend, and it gives you some good feedback. I do like ads for people who want to see results in terms of, I want to know who I'm reaching, who I'm not reaching, because the beauty of social media and Google Ads is that it serves your ad to just the right person, and then it gives you that data. And so when you put a billboard up on the side of the road, you don't know who's reading it, and that can be kind of frustrating. Whereas these ads can be very tangible. Business owners like that because they want to know, where is my money that I'm putting into this thing working or not. So that can be helpful. Let's see what else I have. What else did I come up with this morning? Okay, we talked about relationship marketing. I think I've kind of covered this a little bit. So this is one of my clients. They have a cool story, right? And this may be you. You may have kind of a cool story. So they take, called Vineyard Max. They started a local company. Remember my grape guys that make wine? Well, they crush all the grapes, and then there's all these skins, and they take the grapes, and they literally drive them across the street. It's fun. And they dry them out, and they basically make raisins, right? Okay. And then they crush them up with millet with corn, and they put it in these little 4-pound bags. And the deer love it. Like the deer moves down right. So I guess deer are winos. I don't know. But they like it. It smells sweet. It attracts them, right? So they have, that's how they started. They started like bagging this stuff up in the garage. And there's a Bible verse about like the fruits of your labor. And so that's a big part of like, we're a Christian family and we want to tell our story. And this is a family business. Yada, yada, yada. And so they're very true to that. And they tell that story. So on their business cards is their logo, their Bible verse, their name, their logo with the little antlers. And then, I don't know if y'all can see it. The ambulance groups. Oh, yes. And then there's a little grape hang situation happening here. right? So that's how they started. And then they figured out, oh, well, we've had some success. Started making deer feeders. So when you drive by Lowell's Feed and you see these green deer feeders on the side of the road, they're really high quality, nice feeders. Their colors are green, orange, and the Aggie in me does not like using orange on stuff. But I do it for them because they're precious. It's fine. And then they went, okay, well, we've got like a nice little audience built up here. We need some help. Let's call that crazy Amy lady, and we're going to build a website. E-commerce. Let's try to reach people we've never reached before. So these guys sell medical devices and pharmaceuticals during their spare time, during their like day job. And then they go to all these places, and on their way home and on their way there, they were like stopping at feed stores saying, hey, we have this cool deer attractant. Do you want to buy it? And so that's kind of how they started this grassroots thing. Well, then they grew, and now they're selling knives and grunt calls and t-shirts and hats, and they have all this cool stuff. And so now we have something we can sell. So we got more buckets, right? We got lots of buckets. We got grapes in buckets, we got corn in buckets, we got messaging in buckets, we got buckets everywhere. So they have, it's kind of like a boutique story. They have like this very authentic view of how they reach people. And so they're trying now to go from like this face-to-face, stopping at the feed store and selling feeders and bags and Vineyard Max, to we just want to reach anybody and everybody. So they're going to go to trade shows this summer, Hunter's Extravaganza, apparently that's the thing, and sell their products and get people to hopefully buy online. And they've created this really great suite of products that they have been able to capitalize. And so they don't just have social media, is my point with all of this. They don't just go, well, I posted on Facebook, why aren't people buying it? No, they have all the pieces to the puzzle. They have cohesive marketing. That right there is like a sticker that goes on their, like if they put a call or a thingy in a bag, I don't know. I'm not a hunter, I don't know. They put the sticker on it, it has their contact info. Their business cards all look the same. Their website looks the same. The colors kind of emulate one another. Notice there's less orange on the website. But there's a sunset, kind of orangey. I like kind of work with it so that it looks and feels cohesive. This is my really fancy photo studio, which is a barbed wire fence in my house. And I put the knives on it, I take pictures. It's real fancy. Okay. But guess what? All of that feels authentic. It feels like, so whatever you were saying earlier, like whatever feels authentic to you, it's gonna, if you're, hey, Blueberry Fest is here, we can't wait to have everybody downtown. That's authentic. That's real for what you're trying to achieve. This also goes back to that two-way communication. So none of this works without you saying, like, not hanging up the phone, right? Going back to that example. If you have to answer the phone. So if you're going to push out all these messages and you have all these like amazing plans now that you've been inspired by me today, you get to go home and do this. And now hopefully there's an output and an input thing happening. You're going to send out all these messages. Hopefully people are going to respond, and you have to do that work too, which is a good thing, right? You're trying to like foster these connections. Oh, that's little. Okay. So I threw these case studies up here. These are kind of similar. I won't read you all the garbage, but these are my website. You can go look at them if you want. I'm gonna geek out. A lot of people want to know what the numbers look like. They care about the data. I care about the data. I'm gonna ask you for a check every month. I need to be able to say, hey, this is what you get for your money, right? And so again, I go back to, it's not always sales. So we have to be okay with that. We have to be okay with reputation management, being seen as an industry expert. You can't track sales. So being seen as a community partner, being seen as somebody who's real and authentic and genuine, top of mind awareness. Anybody ever heard of that? So if I want a generator, I want to know you're going to call Old-Town Generators. If I want a glass of wine, I want you to call Red House Winer. I want there to be this top of mind awareness that happens if I need a title company, I need to call you, right? So that's the battle you're fighting. And it's not tangible, so that makes it really hard. It also makes it where this isn't always the most important thing you're doing, because you also have like your business to run. But I think we can all agree that marketing ourselves and telling our story is really important, or nobody else is important, of course. So they had Instagram and Facebook, they used their website, and then the other thing that they did was wine club memberships. So the one thing we could track was if we sweeten the pot about what it means to be a wine club member at Red House Miami, and then we get new people signing up over time, then we can actually track sales, because that is like, for them, known dollars, because you have to buy so much per quarter. So people think when they hear wine club, what do you think?
Just something different.
Yeah, okay,
Special deal, possibly.
maybe. Anybody else think, I can't afford that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. So,
Another subscription.
yeah, okay. Let's be real. Yeah, we think, and that's okay. So we changed this narrative. We said, hey, if you give wine as gifts, if you drink a bottle of wine a month, the minimum purchase is 3 bottles of wine a quarter. That's not unattainable. If you grab wine when you go to the grocery store, you're spending this money anyway. So we kind of changed the way we market it, and we go, all right, if you're like a light wine user, right? Like 3 bottles of wine a quarter, we can all handle that. Here's what it costs. Here's the value it adds. By the way, they sweeten the pot. You can come in with 2 friends once a week and get a free glass of wine. Okay, well, your wine membership is paid for itself. You can bring 2 friends once a week. Hello, that's amazing. I mean, I wouldn't know, but so all of a sudden we say, we've added value. They understand marketing. They understand, okay, we might be giving away some glasses of wine, but are we gonna go in and have 1 glass of wine? Why not? Be real. We're only gonna have 2 to drive home, but we're gonna maybe have more. Or I may go, oh, I need to buy a gift for a friend, or oh, cool, they have an event coming up, I want to come. So then it becomes, you get this loyalty that happens. I go in there and work sometimes, like on the laptop, and there's people in there that are just like doing what I'm doing. So it's becoming this place that people go hang out. Yes, I'm in the wine club room, so it's exclusive. Ooh, fancy. But it's not something that's unattainable. So we kind of switched the narrative of, hey, you can't, this is something that you're doing anyway. So come do it with us, because we're awesome. So that was one thing we could track. We could track website visits. They can track sales through their websites. They had in the first 30 days, because we were consistent, because we dressed up their website, made it consistent with the messaging that was on their social media, so it all went together for the stickers and the business cards and all the things. So all the pieces were in place. Now we can start tracking. They had 59% increase in engagement their first 30 days. Yeah, so in engagement, all these numbers that these Facebook people throw out, you know, like, I don't know, engagement, what impressions, what engagement, why are you making up words? So engagement is, I clicked and I read. Impressions are, I clicked and I read, and then maybe I came back later and I saw it again. So you might be counted twice for an impression. Think about like a paw print, it's over and over. Engagement is, I'm actually liking, commenting, reading, doing something with the post. Instagram, 202% increase in impressions in 30 days. And this is no paid ads. This was just new pictures, scheduled posts, 6 to 7 days a week, consistently for 30 days. So, and yes, here's the other part of this. If you're here, yeah, you're gonna go to here. And then your next month, you're gonna ebb and flow. So like these numbers sound amazing. These are not, I think I have like 10-month numbers here because you've got to level out at some point. So I always say 3 months, like stick to something for 3 months and see how it's going. Because that first month you're gonna go through the roof because you probably had not as consistent messaging. And now you're gonna leave here today and you're gonna go, yes, do it. And then you're gonna go through the roof and you're gonna be like, oh, so yeah, I knew that lady. I got this. And then the next month you're gonna go dip down if you're comparing month over month because you have an amazing month and then you're gonna dip down. So by month 3, you go, okay, this is kind of the growth I can expect. And if I get 2% growth every month, well, I don't know, times 12, all of a sudden, I like my odds at the end of the year for this slow and steady win the race kind of stuff. Over 10 months, they reached Nacogdoches, Texas on Facebook, over 440,000 people. Might be some of the same people, right? And so like, I like their posts every day, mine. But there's also people in there that are not unique visitors. Yes.
So as you dive deeper into like Instagram specifically, other than being consistent and having your buckets and doing your things, how important is it to use other aspects of the social media, like with Instagram, like the highlights or the reels? Like, does that make a huge difference when you start tapping into it?
Yeah. What time is it?
12:45.
Oh, I've had so much fun. It's flew by. Okay, so let's talk about that real quick. Y'all can look at these boring numbers on the website if you want to. You really want to geek out. Go. Okay, cool pictures. Oh, I like this. A horse walks into a bar. So like that's part of their like fun. Again, it's not online. Like it's not that deep, guys. Rockin' H Lavender Farm in Santa Ana.
Hey, what is your website?
Smalltownsocials.com. Very colorful. Cover your eyes. They got new pictures. They got their website updated. They have like an Airbnb situation happening, so they got to type that in, so you can read about that if that inspires you. So these are just random thoughts from the pregnant lady. I almost deleted it and I was like, okay. So I've probably said some of these things, but we will talk about stories in just a second. So social media will function differently for each one of you. I think I've probably hammered that home. Repetitive messages are okay. Use your buckets. Choose one platform, do it well. You can't be everything to everybody. Just be consistent. Graphics and images matter. So if that's not your strong suit, find somebody who likes to do that. Anybody outsource like their accounting? Anybody have a bookkeeper? No? Okay. Anybody have somebody come to their house and work on their HVAC or install cabinets, or you have people that
Yeah.
do it?
Vendors.
Yeah. Okay, so those people do the things that you don't want to do. So if you don't want to create graphics, if you don't want to take pictures, if that's not for you, it's okay. Say Hedwig's Feed Supplies, old boy gets in there, starts taking pictures on his phone of all the stuff on the shelves that works great for them. No big deal. They don't mind doing it. You send them to me, it's great. So they don't have a problem with that. Some people go, can you come take some more pictures? We just don't like it. It's not our thing. So outsourcing, I think, is an okay thing if you don't like one part of what you're doing. For me, it gets stale. You can only be creative about businesses for so long. So we like switch accounts, who is writing for what account all the time. I have a copywriter who comes in and just like knocks out posts because I can only say so much about generators. I mean, it just is what it is. And so she's real creative, and then we swap around and we do that. So we outsource to kind of use strengths of each other. So if you have somebody that you work with that loves to play with graphics, or they love to write captions, or they love one part of this, give them just that one part, and then you can do it all together. Misunderstood features. So hashtags. Huh. Fun, aren't they? Hashtags are like the most, I feel sad for them. They're very misunderstood. Some people use them in like the weirdest ways. They'll be like, hashtag, I am on a vacation this week, and I'm like, I'm like, I can't even believe that. So hashtags are like thinking about links to categories. So hashtag Nacogdoches, Texas. If I click on that on any platform, it's going to take me to anybody who has put that on their post. So it's not necessarily intended to be funny. Sometimes they are. I get it. Like it's kind of taken a life of its own. But the real purpose is to help you categorize. So if you want to fall into a category like hashtag East Texas wine, hashtag downtown Nacogdoches, and you want people to find you that way, on Instagram especially, you can follow a hashtag. So just like you would follow my page, I follow different hashtags. Hashtag Nacogdoches pops up. So somebody out there that I don't know hashtags Nacogdoches in a post, I'm going to see it. And that's how that organic growth can happen. You'll see some that are like hashtag sunsets. Well, there's 9 million hashtag sunsets. That's not doing you any good, right? So there's a sweet spot in there. We do what we call hashtag research. We find that sweet spot. We go in there. Yes, even that's probably a little big, right? But and then you can't get too specific. Hashtag litigation attorneys. Like, I don't know. So you may have to broaden your scope, right? Hashtag banks. Okay, no, that's fine. But there are some, and you'll see if you look at posts from some of these people. Hashtags work better on Instagram and Facebook. I kind of, every now and then I'll throw them on Facebook just for funsies, because they do work. They just don't function the same. So on Instagram and on TikTok, you can filter per hashtag. So local hashtags are good if you're a local business trying to reach local people. You also, like the wine guys, they don't care if you're local. They care that you're hashtag Texas wine. And they may find wineries that are also following that. So they really serve a specific purpose. And so what that, again, what that means for you is different. And yeah, sometimes it's just fun to have hashtags. Instagram allows for 30. So you better believe I max it out. Because you may get 2 followers a month from those 30, but hey, it's 2 more than that. And once you kind of get into that group, I have groupings of like 3 hashtag groupings per client. And I just rotate every 3rd day to get something new. Like the boutique is a great example. Hashtag Louis Vuitton, hashtag Western wear, hashtag blah, blah, blah. Like the people that are following those would like our clothes. Doesn't matter where they live.
So to say what you just said, but to say it differently, is you kind of like copy paste and see groupings of all like 30 hashtags, and you'll rotate that with every other post, kind of? Okay. So you're not like having to retype it out every time, because you're not doing the same one every time.
No, every 3rd day. And then we change them out once a quarter.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I don't like doing that, so I have somebody that does that for me. Because I outsource that, because I'm like, that's too many numbers for me. But she finds those, I think it's between like 200,000 is the top. So if it's like hashtag Texas sunset, we're probably not using it because it's just too big and we're going to get lost and we won't find it. Your business suite, I saw this yesterday. So I use this external scheduling tool because I have like 25 clients, so like I don't even know what's in there. But I used it for something yesterday. And I thought this would be helpful for y'all. Who's used the business suite? Okay. So on Facebook, when you go, like, you just type in Facebook Business Suite, and it'll take you to your account. It's called Meta now. I don't know. I get it. And so that's where you can schedule your posts.
Oh, this is like Creator Suite.
Yes. Some accounts are different than others. It's so weird. So I saw yesterday, I went to schedule something, and Facebook said the optimal time to send this is at 10:30 in the morning. And I was like, cool, okay, let's do it. We look at like analytics outside of that, and we try to figure out like when people are on, because people, my boutique, for example, the ladies that shop there, they get up in the morning and they drink their coffee and they start shopping while they're like hanging out in the morning, because they're like ladies who lunch. And so we post at 8 a.m. Well, other clients, like the winery folks, we kind of post it in the middle of the day. And that's when their clients are online. So Facebook, your analytics will tell you when your people are online. And you want to post just before that so that when they get there, you're there. So optimal posting times are good. Anybody ever have events? The Facebook events it's a cool tool. If you've never like gone in and created an event that says like we're having an open house at Courtney Home. What it does, again, it bypasses that stupid algorithm and it says that you can invite people to it, but then when those people get invited and they say they're going, then all their friends see that they're going. And so it becomes like this thing that takes life. And then Facebook now reminds you, it'll say, hey, you have an event coming up today. And they may not have ever intended to go, but that's another touch point that they saw you. So they might go, oh, I forgot I said I was going to go to that, but I'll go another day this week. And it kind of helps with that. And that's like no work that you've done other than creating that event. So that can be a powerful tool for some businesses. And then stories. Y'all ever see those little bubbles at the top of your feed? Those are called stories. So when Facebook bought Instagram, it was to get that feature. And that's all they wanted because those stories also bypass the algorithm. So I always tell people, don't let your stories die, even if it's like one slide. Because if your bubble is active at the top, a lot of users never scroll. They only click on stories and they only click through those bubbles. And so I think there's like so many pieces to this, but if you can just kind of keep it active, then all of a sudden what it also does is if you click on my stories, the next day I'm at the top of your stories again. And it starts to say, oh, you like my content. I want to keep showing you content you like. These platforms are designed for us to be addicted to them. So if you go, oh, I like Heritage Title, I want to click through their stories today. The next day when you update your story, it puts it at the very top. It's the first thing I see when I get on my feed. So new products, if you're a 4-day-a-week poster and you really don't want to be overkill on your feed and you don't really have time to mess with it, or you want to be a 3-day-a-week person or a 2-day-a-week person, and you can keep your stories active, all of a sudden you are still making contact with people, and then they go to your feed, hopefully. The goal is to get them to your profile, and then there's information there that may not be irrelevant.
So if you double post, I don't do stories.
Okay.
It's like the one I just don't do them, and I know I should. So, but my thing is stories done.
Yeah.
So do I double post my stories to my feed?
So I'll take a post, when I post something, I put it in the feed.
Okay.
No, backwards. When it's in my feed, I'll put it in the story.
But in my feed, and then the story will die, but the feed will stay the same.
Yes.
Okay.
So feed, like your posts are kind of you may have an event coming up in 2 weeks, right? But you want to remind somebody of that event every day. So then you can post it in your story every day without posting it and make feed obnoxious. The other thing you'll see people do are these behind the scenes things. So, hey, we're here today at blah, 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 blah. This is what we're working on. Little 30-second video. You want your feed to be pretty in theory, especially on Instagram. If you'll notice the ones I put up there, like they look really cohesive. All the colors are the same. So I don't want to throw some crazy thing in there to like screw up the color scheme. So I'll put that in the feed because it's more immediate information. It's also a reminder. My boutique uses it because she only wants one post a day. She doesn't want people to unfollow her because she's too much. Yeah. But then when she gets new inventory, like here in about an hour, the UPS truck will come and she'll send me all this new inventory. We'll put it on the stories this afternoon and they'll be there until tomorrow afternoon. So the feed has become a collection of like all the things she's selling, and the last 10 posts or so are probably recent inventory, but then there's also like value in the feed. For my Instagram page, Small Town Socials, the highlight bubbles you asked about, they are like our clients, behind the scenes, staff features, things like that that you might want to, they're your buckets. A lot of, and you'll start to notice it as we talk today, you'll go, oh yeah, these are our products. These are our events downtown. These are the things, like it's kind of a collection of things that have happened over time. Red House Winery did one before I started running their page. It's called Shenanigans. So like anything silly that has happened at the winery, they didn't really want that as a feed taking up space. So they were sticking it in the stories. Well, then Instagram allowed you to put it as a highlight bubble. And all of a sudden, there's these like funny things. So if you wanted to go back and look and go, oh, these people are fun. They have personality. This is kind of cool. They were like riding a forklift through the parking lot or whatever the thing was. That might have happened 2 years ago, but it kind of gives them some personality that isn't coming through in the post. So you can use that however you want. Questions?
I'm curious what you think about the, it's about the algorithm when it's suggested that you make a post on Facebook that's something like bacon. How do you like your bacon? Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4.
Yeah.
And everybody votes on it. And you get a bunch of interaction. And then the next day is when you post a big sale or something like that.
A lot of people will do that.
I have difficulty with it because I'm a very serious person and I don't want to see a business playing games, you know?
Yeah, I think it goes back to that like finding the right note. So if you're a pig farmer and you want to know how much bacon, like how crispy someone likes their bacon, okay, that's fine. I'll let you do that. The post with the slap, that got a lot of engagement. It didn't work for every business. We weren't going to be like, oh, Tom generators, power outages. That wasn't a thing, right? So I think it depends on what works for you. I don't know that that's a bad philosophy. What she's talking about, so when the algorithm way it works is if you interact with something, Facebook or Instagram, not Twitter, not Pinterest. TikTok's algorithm is like on speed. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I do, but it's wacky. Facebook and Instagram, if you tell it like, I really like this content. Like I got bored the other day and my sister-in-law, I can't say this on, I'm being filmed. I got bored the other day and I started looking at like, she's building a house and I was like, well, I don't know what kind of floors I would put in my fictitious house that I'm gonna build because I'm pregnant, I can't do anything. So I started scrolling on Pinterest and looking at like farmhouses. It was stupid. And now today I pull it up and it's like all this farmhouse garbage. And I was like, that was just a moment I had, like leaving it alone. So it started to say, oh, you want this type of content? We'll keep giving you this type of content. And you've all seen it, and everyone's like, Facebook's listening to me. No, you're telling it what you like. You're playing right into the hands of what you're saying. So a lot of businesses will do that. They will say, hey, vote on your favorite blah, 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 blah. Or they'll say, I saw you did one the other day, Allison. It was like a famous person that you've met.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
So I think that I have an online business as well. And so I've always been told, you've been engagement posts and it gets a lot of comments and you're interacting with those comments. Then it's going to move your next post to the top. Yeah.
Yep. So she did. I fell for it because I wanted everybody to know I met Ellen Ryan.
Yeah.
And I was like, I met Ellen Ryan. I'm cooler than all of y'all. And then she was like, I think you messaged me or something. So it was a tool for her to connect to potential customers following her feed. But then I started seeing more of Allison's stuff, which was cool. Because I was like, I told Facebook, hey, I like her stuff. I want to see more of it. So we connected in that way. Makes sense for what you're doing. Does that make sense for, I don't know. Everybody? No. But like there are things that could make sense for you. So what is your favorite downtown event? What, I don't know. Pick a piece of art that you love. Vote on your favorite. I mean, it's still on brand for you and it's getting that engagement and you're not trying to like sell all the time. So yes and no.
I have a question. I just want to announce it all for you. Have you heard of the, if you get to like 10 comments in the first hour, it's going to raise your post volume?
That could be. They change these rules like every day. Like, they really do, because at Christmas time, Facebook wanted you using their platform, so they changed the algorithm to, if you were selling things on your page, like you were linked back to a website, it was giving you extra points and showing your feed, your post more in a feed than others. And so it was frustrating for me, for my clients that weren't selling things online, because they were getting bumped to the bottom. But the ones that were, they were like, this is gonna go fast. And I'm like, yeah, because you're the lucky chosen one. And then in January, I said, be prepared for January, because you're gonna change it. So they tweak those algorithms all the time, depending on what's going on. And so it's just like a constant battle. That's why I kind of hope that today helps cut through some of that. Like, we don't have to worry. Like, if highlights and reels and stories and all that sounds overwhelming to you, and you're like, I'm just trying to figure out what to post and if I'm doing the right thing, just do those things. Because if you do those things consistently, all of a sudden it's going to start working. You'll start to see some traction, and then you get comfortable with that. You can kind of learn the next part.
So consistency is key.
Absolutely. People have to be able to trust you. It's like when your hours are posted outside, right? So if I know, I'm not looking per se to say like, they always post on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and they didn't post on Friday. Nobody's doing that, but there is like this trust that starts to take place of like, I see those people's posts all the time. I want to know what they're all about because they keep showing up. Because you may ignore it the first 10 times, and then the 11th time you start to look. So, cool. Well, thank y'all for having dealing with my sitting and my sweating.